Hello and welcome to another Writer Showcase. Very happy to have everybody in the chat here today. I first need to bring in my usual co-host. Please welcome the always lovely and adorable Neph Champion.
行くわよ来世の試練よ
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Also, please welcome.
Hey, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Hi.
Hello, Jan.
Hello, Neph.
Yep.
Hello, Dan.
Hello. Please also welcome our good friend.
Hello, Count Valerian.
Hello.
Hey, welcome, Latvian Dragon. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello, Becca. Obviously, Johan. Hopefully, Mothmaster will be able to come back soon. Welcome to Akos. Good to see you. We also have a couple more guests today. Please welcome. Come.
Hey folks, I'm back.
Always a
Hey,
pleasure, my friend. Let me see. What's an appropriate entrance for our good friend Carl Sailor? No, not Carl Sailor. Tarek. Let's go with
Stayed
this.
focused even in the worst situations. I don't know how you do it.
Steak, Liara. I think about when there's so much steak.
Okay,
I f***ing love steak.
I know.
I'm sorry. In my playthrough of Mass Effect, I plowed that blue ass, so that's all I can think about. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Greetings,
Garrus is love, Garrus is life.
Yes.
Yeah, he is the ultimate bro.
Garrus is the reason I crossplay as FemShep. I'm not ashamed.
Oh, don't worry about it. You're not the only one who does that.
Cerberus did some extra modifications in Mass Effect 2.
Alrighty. So I believe that since Carl Sailor has to go to sleep, we should probably get started with him first.
Oh, it's
Right?
okay. I love how you guys are starting this early now, just to be nice to me.
Oh, we
Nice
wouldn't
to be
dream of
included.
otherwise.
Okay.
This is so this is Writer Showcase. We're basically people who are in my Discord sign up once a week to read their work live on set to advertise on stream to advertise their work. And Wolf doesn't really have anything he would like to advertise.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, anyway. Yes, that's the operative word. Not yet.
He does
Soon.
have a lot of ideas that sound really good, and he's working on a Fate's Day Night crossover that I think would be really, really interesting. I can't wait for him to have enough to read it, but he doesn't have enough yet.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right.
Oh.
So, this is another offering from my upcoming The Sands of Isafar, the sequel to The Gates of Dawn. And well, let's get right to it. My dearest Amelia, I sorely hope my brief telegram has not caused you and our beloved daughters too much distress. So much has happened in these past few days that I considered it unwise to send any correspondence until the events had stabilized. I know not how this news shall be discussed in the broadsheets, but you and the girls deserve to have the truth of things, undistorted by sensation or politics. Yesterday, the 2nd of April of the year 614, at about 5 hours after midday, the Dawn Palace was set upon by a Hadvari strike team with the intent to sow havoc and discord among the highest echelons of government. The Hadvari assassins claimed the lives of 127 souls, including 6 lords of the land, and, worst of all, Her Majesty the Queen. I arrived in the capital sometime after the initial attack, drawn by an unrelated errand, but I regret that I was too late to have any significant effect on the outcome of the disaster. Today, a council was convened with the surviving lords and their next of kin. After much debate and discussion, it was decided that in the absence of a royal heir, Lord Perseus Hiram Stolos would be raised to the office of Lord Protector of the Realm and assume the duties of sovereign rulership over the kingdom. For my part, it is too early yet to tell whether or not our choice was correct. Still, whatever the future holds in store for the realm, whatever trials and tribulations are sure to be visited upon us in the coming weeks and months and years, know that my love and affection for you shall endure, as I know yours shall for me. Ever yours, Orpheus. Lord Wingate set the pen down in the inkwell and considered the letter. It was neater than his usual work, still nowhere near the breathtaking elegance of Amelia's graceful, flowing copperplate script, yet eminently more legible than those chicken-scratch shorthand notes he took for his own benefit. Lord Wingate glanced about his office. Nothing was any different than it had been when he and Barnes had departed for the fleet exercises. Why should it be any different? It's only been 3 days. So much had happened, both planned and unplanned, that those 3 days seemed to stretch out for years. And yet, sitting here, back in his office with the storm behind him and a semblance of normalcy slowly settling back over the world, it almost seemed like nothing had happened at all. Like the past 24 hours had been nothing but a bad dream from which he might awaken at any moment. A soft tapping on the door drew Lord Wingate's thoughts back to the present. "Enter," he called, and a lieutenant he didn't recognize poked his head into the office and gave a timid, "My Lord Wingate?" "Come on in, lad," Lord Wingate said gently, and the lieutenant complied. "What have you got there?" "My lord," the man saluted and produced an envelope. "A fleet dispatch from Commodore Wilmot at Longview. I'm not sure who this goes to right about now." More lingering confusion from the attack. "I'll take it," Lord Wingate said. "In fact, I'll trade you for one of my own." He slipped the letter to Amelia into an envelope and quickly sealed it. "Deliver that to the post office, priority civilian service. I'll reimburse you when you return." Envelopes and salutes were exchanged, and the lieutenant departed. Lord Wingate opened the dispatch and began to read. Well, the message was composed almost entirely of jargon, but he understood its meaning well enough. At 1300 hours on the 2nd of April of the year 1614, that was yesterday, a lightning raid was carried out on Longview by a single unknown airship, suspected to be operating under Hadvari direction. Casualties were minimal, damage was medium, but most significantly, the radio tower had been disabled until only a few hours ago, and the telegraph lines with it. That explains why this dispatch was so late in coming. The hostile airship had been last seen escaping south-southwest on a bearing of 160. Doubtless this was the self-same ship that had delivered the Hadvari death squad into the capital. The message continued with the news that the dreadnought was gone from port without orders, and that Captain Bowman had deserted his post with his crew. The message concluded with a request for orders. "So Bowman's gone missing, has he?" Lord Wingate knew better than to call it desertion. Paul Bowman was many things, among them incompetent, insubordinate, and clearly clumsy in his operation, but he was certainly no coward. Besides, Lord Wingate had seen the dreadnought with his own eyes yesterday, heading south from the capital, no doubt in close pursuit of the Hadvari airship. If Bowman was doing so without orders, then so be it. Wingate would have given the orders himself had he been the officer on duty. In any case, that little spot of confusion would be cleared up as soon as Bowman returned from his mission. As much as Lord Wingate didn't want to admit it, he was rather looking forward to Bowman's debriefing. My son is with him! The thought came upon Lord Wingate like a storm, and he leapt up from his desk and bounded out into the hallway. It wasn't too late, was it? Could he still intercept his letter to Amelia and add that little detail into a postscript before it slipped into the labyrinth of the Royal Postal Service? Lord Wingate wheeled around corners and flew down flights of stairs, dodging lieutenants and wave girls and other officers. But when he finally reached the entrance of the fleet headquarters building, the lieutenant with his letter was gone. Blast! Lord Wingate turned about and slowly started making his way back up to his office. He would have to slip the information about Wolfram into some other letter. Well, perhaps he was overreacting. The Dreadnought would probably be back in a day or two, and Amelia need never learn. Time had a way of untying knots like these. And who could say? Perhaps by the time the Dreadnought had returned, Wolfram would have finally distinguished himself at long last. Wingate! Lord Bunderwick was waiting for him right at the top of the stairs. Lords Malden and Vice Admiral Rockport stood on either side of Bunderwick, though they were scarcely visible behind his considerable girth. The portly man's face was flushed red with fury and bluster. Lord Wingate had little doubt that Bunderwick had prepared a furious tongue-lashing for him. And so battle is joined. My Lord Bunderwick! Lord Wingate made a crisp salute as he crossed the final stair. With Hanscom gone, Bunderwick was now the senior-most officer in the ARAF. Don't try to bluff me with that parade ground nonsense, Bunderwick growled. What in bloody blazes has happened to this bloody kingdom? Surely you've been briefed on the matter, Lord Wingate said, awkwardly letting his salute down when it became clear that Bunderwick was not about to return the gesture. I most certainly have not been briefed, Bunderwick cried. I've had to piece together whatever scraps of information I could get my hands on. And what a tale it tells! That young upstart Stolos declaring himself Lord Protector of the Realm. A council of lords convened, without my participation, I might add. Lords of the land slaughtered indiscriminately in the palace, and finally the Queen herself, most brutally slain at the hands of the treacherous Ginks. Something is rotten indeed in the kingdom of Aurora. I'm afraid you have the order of those events rather backwards, Lord Malden spoke up cautiously. Shut up, Norwalt. You're in enough hot water as it is, Bunderwick snapped. Had it not been for good Mr. Rockport alerting me that something was afoot here in the capital, I would still be back at South Sands with the exercises. Lord Wingate noted a vicious glare passing between Rockport and Malden. Those two hated each other. I'm certain I can organize a fleet-wide briefing, Lord Wingate said quickly, before the two men could start up an argument of their own. Can you gather the flag officers in the main assembly hall in 1 hour's time? The fleet-wide briefing will have to wait until the exercises are concluded, Bunderwick said. In the meantime, I fully expect you to give me a... Hold on a moment, Lord Wingate interrupted. Do you mean to tell me that the exercises are still proceeding? Of course. Bunderwick seemed offended by the very question. There's a whole other day's worth of trials still on the schedule. I've had to leave Admiral Sackfield in charge, what with you lot abandoning your posts, but... We have been attacked! Lord Wingate shouted. Hadvar is going to have troops on the march in short order, and you're still carrying on with those confounded exercises? Have you taken leave of your senses? Now, you see here, Bunderwick started, but Lord Wingate heaved the mound of flesh aside. You there! He pointed to a lieutenant cowering in a doorway. Get down to the wire room and contact the fleet at South Sands. Tell them to break off the exercises at once and make with all speed for Riga. The lieutenant saluted and vanished into a stairwell. You two, Lord Wingate brandished his finger at Rockport and Malden. With me, we need to rough out a patrol line, a relief schedule, and a supply column. Stay where you are! Bunderwick shrieked at the top of his lungs. Rockport and Malden both stopped in their tracks, as if turned to stone. This is mutiny, Wingate, the man squealed. I'll not tolerate this flagrant insubordination. I'll have you drummed out of the fleet for this. I'll charge you with treason. You'll move out of the way first, said a gruff voice from behind the stairwell. Bunderwick turned about and quickly moved aside to let Lord Harlock through. Yes, forgive me, Wolfgang, Bundwick said, suddenly becoming calm and conciliatory, even submissive. I didn't see you there. Didn't hear me neither, I'll wager, Lord Harlock grumbled as he crested the last few steps. Wingate, come with me. I want a word in confidence. Lord Wingate felt his blood turn to ice in his veins. Yes, sir. So much for my bloody career. Just a moment, Wolfgang, Bundwick said, before Harlock and Wingate could disappear into the stairwell. I know there's a lot to be sorted out, but I've not yet been briefed on the current situation. Malden, fill him in, Harlock groaned without turning to face back. Lord Wingate didn't say anything as he followed the man down the stairs, into the hallway, onto the floor below. He felt like a man being led to a firing squad. So, Harlock broke the awkward silence as the two of them slipped into his office. Care to tell me what you lot were shouting over? A dispute over... Lord Wingate considered his words carefully. Over strategic priorities. I surely hope it's not a taste of things to come, said a voice from the corner of the office. Lord Wingate turned to see Lord Stolos himself, inspecting a bookcase in the corner. Hadvar is already enough of an enemy for us. We don't need any more right now. Lord Wingate quickly snapped to a salute and opened his mouth, but hesitated. How was he to address this new ruler of Aurora? Lord Protector was the title he'd chosen for himself, but there was no precedent for such a title. What would the precedent go in this situation? Is everything all right, Orpheus? Lord Stolos cocked an eyebrow at him. Wingate blinked. He'd been holding a ramrod straight salute for almost 15 seconds now. He quickly dropped his hand, though he did not slacken his posture. Forgive me, your Lord Protectorship? My name is Percy. Lord Stolos shook his head with a smile. But if you must be formal, a simple my lord will do well enough. Yes, of course, my lord, Lord Wingate said, still not daring to relax. How might I serve you, then? Well, you can start by telling us exactly what that shouting match was about. And none of this business about strategic priorities, Harlock grumbled. Wingate sighed and began explaining exactly why he'd lost his temper with Bundwick. The two men listened carefully to his account of the argument with expressions unreadable. Occasionally, one of them would ask a clarifying question or request some more information, but for the most part, they listened in silence, trying to decide how best to word my dismissal, Lord Wingate surmised. I don't know that I've ever met our Lord Bundwick in person, Lord Stolos said as Lord Wingate concluded his explanation, but he seems terribly inflexible on matters. He is my superior nonetheless, Lord Wingate said. Not for much longer, Harlock said. Wingate winced at the implication. There's no need to make a scene, Wingate said, with as much dignity as he could muster. I'll clear out my office and be on the next train out of the capital. No one need ever be the wiser. Whatever are you talking about? Stolos asked, sounding honestly surprised. We're not trying to force you out, Harlock said. You're not? Quite the opposite, actually, Lord Stolos said. I've come to offer you the position of High Admiral of the Auroran Royal Airborne Fleet. He could hardly believe his ears. High Admiral of the fleet? In an instant, his anxiety at being dismissed evaporated, only to be replaced by a second, much heavier cloud of worry. They wanted to put him in the top job? How could he rise to such a responsibility? Well, but surely, Wingate protested, my Lord Bundwick is... Yes, Bundwick, Stolos chuckled. How did you describe him to me, Wolfgang? You said something rather amusing just before now. Harlock's mouth flashed in a smirk, the first sign of levity Wingate had ever seen him show. I believe I called him an outsized ego with a person attached to it, or something to that effect. All joking aside, he is still senior to me by a number of years, Wingate said. And what of it? Harlock scoffed. You honestly believe all those extra years have made him into a competent leader? Well, no, Wingate admitted, but Well, there you have it then, Harlock said. There are others in the line of succession ahead of me, Lord Wingate protested further. What about Sackfield or Grunwald? Old Sackfield's been overdue for retirement for years. We all know that, Harlock said. And Grunwald doesn't have the temperament for the position. You remember that panic attack he had a few years ago? More to the point, Stolas took over. The office of High Admiral is not earned by mere seniority. It is first and foremost a political appointment. And I have chosen to appoint you. I'm trapped. All right, then, Lord Wingate sighed. If that is your wish, my lord. Excellent, Stolos smiled. I'm convening a war council tomorrow morning, just as soon as a few more crucial figures can arrive in town. I trust I can count upon your presence? Wingate nodded. Of course, my lord. You'll do fine. Harlock gave him a firm clap on the shoulder. Come on. Let's see how Bunderwick reacts when he hears the news. There we go.
Nice.
Very nice.
Really nice.
I'm enjoying
Yeah,
this. This is really enjoyable.
really engrossed by this.
Yeah, this guy is. Yeah, I really like how you very easily characterize this stuffy British style military force.
Yeah, that's great.
I gotta say, I've really fallen in love with this whole atmosphere.
Well, it is heard.
You aren't the only one. That's amazing.
So lovely to hear. Just only already hearing the conversation, and you already can immerse yourself with it. It's beautiful to hear.
I can see this taking place somewhere like Windsor Palace or something.
Hell, I can honestly see it taking place in even 40K with some of the language. I can just see it, with easily. It could be 40K.
Yeah,
definitely.
Amazing.
A lot of love in the chat too. A lot of love in the chat too.
Yeah.
An outsized ego with a person attached.
Yeah.
Or
that's the thing. I've been using some variation of that quote for. I've recycled that through so many projects. It honestly doesn't seem all that funny to me anymore, just through exposure. But I forget. Just this is someone's first time hearing it.
Yeah.
It makes an impression, certainly.
Yeah. Ooh, that Becca mentions a Hamlet quote. I must have missed that.
Something is rotten.
Yeah, something is rotten in the kingdom of Aurora. I slipped things like that in there.
Yeah, something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Knock knock. Who's there? Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself. The world's longest knock knock joke.
Is that in this story too?
No, he just made it up because he's that smart.
I stole it from Slings and Arrows.
Oh nice.
Well,
So it's kind of
I like to sprinkle little references in there. I've got quite a few Macbeth references in my Logain fanfic.
Ooh.
Oh nice. That's excellent.
It is.
Alrighty.
I caught that was of course when Logain is first introduced in the Eye of the World, he's described as a king in every inch of him.
Yeah.
From Lear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, the nice thing is he should be getting more screen time in the show.
Hopefully. They've already said they're going to be expanding his role, so I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm optimistic as well.
Let's hope.
So who is there anybody here who has time constraints on them, just so I know?
Yeah, because they can go next.
Nope.
I got a stream with Crow at 7:30, but nothing nothing coming up soon. So
That's
okay.
like 3 o'clock at my nighttime. So yeah, That's that.
I'll be long conked out by then.
Alrighty, cool.
Yeah,
So
I'm going a little AFK at round 4-ish, but that's over an hour from now. So
alrighty.
You should probably still go next.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
go next.
Yeah, Blurian can go next, and then from there we'll just go. Actually, that's actually just kind of go counterclockwise, and I'll go last.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
So that would mean me.
So you're clockwise. Counterclockwise is starting at Carl, Count Balerion, then Johan, then Neph, and then you, and I go last.
All right.
Ah, okay. I was a little bit confused. Like, wait, you're supposed to be second last, not last. Oh God, clockwise.
I just assumed that meant you'd be starting with Tarek and then everyone else.
quasi counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why counterclockwise.
All right. Well,
Cool.
Let's hear it.
You're up on deck, Valerian.
Okay, we're back to the parody I did last time. Oh, maybe I should show you some pictures first. Let's see if I can.
Is it the Lord of the Rings parody, or is it the what is it, the
The one I did
Watership
last-
Down?
No, it's the one I did last time. The one with
Okay.
with Bozo and Fred and those guys.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Lord of the Rings parody. Since I think we have a lot more context for that than the bunny horror film.
Yeah, this one is this one. Yeah, it's actually kind of a sort of a parody of the sort of Shannara and sort of. What actually it started out. I finished my doctorate and suddenly I got these amusing one-liners hopping to my head, and I would go and scribble them down and start laughing. And then I would scribble. And then another one would come to my head. I would start laughing, scribble it down, and then eventually it turned into this thing. Let's see here. Oh, I need to get into the stream.
Riga?
Oh yeah, that was me. There's a city in my world called Riga.
The return of Bozo.
I believe I mentioned it in the Conlang.
Oh,
survey.
nice. That's cool.
Yeah, I think
a survey. Our stream was a survey. I love it.
Or the stream, the Conlang stream.
Yeah.
Too late in the day for this nonsense.
Freudian slip. Perfectly understandable.
Yep. Okay. Half a second here. Here we are. Yep. Sorry, it takes a moment to do the share screen thing.
How many Freudians does it take to change a light bulb? Just two. One to hold the bulb or one to change the bulb and one to hold the penis. Mother. Ladder.
Comment. Okay.
Ah, the beautiful black. Wait. Yeah, there you go.
Can you see that thing? Those are the protagonists.
Ah, yes. The return of Bozo. I see now why it's called Bozo.
That's the picture came after the name. The name came first.
Clown and beer. Clown and beer.
That's great.
Funny.
Here's the one where they're getting attacked by a nasty.
I just have something over top of it while we wait.
Cool. Nice.
I'm just looking at this, and that's all I need. But the rest I have already done. Taps are already done.
Computers are so annoying.
Yeah, computers are annoying. Mine's kind of a piece of junk in a lot of ways.
Mine needs an update. That's the problem. I need a new CPU because I'm already 10 years old with the CPU, but the rest is all good.
Oh,
And I'm getting problems with gaming. So yeah.
oh, my problem is the update. It's eaten up 13 gigabytes.
I don't know why what I'm looking for is not coming up in
Oh.
the list of things.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are. This is they're being attacked by a nasty. Is it not coming up?
Let's see. Uh,
Can you see anything at all there? That's the nasty
That's
bear.
a big giant duck right there. That's the
Wow.
Do you see it's got Wells Fargo written on it?
Yep, a monster.
definitely a monster. A big giant monster. And then the shadowy duck on the right side.
I'm not sure what that was.
Oh my god.
I'm not sure what that one is. Yeah, I'm just showing the stuff I did last time. And here is if I can get this thing to. I think I have to stop screen before I can start screen again. It's sort of annoying. Yep, it's coming up. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. This is the bit where they meet the dwarf in the bar. That's what this bit is.
So they're gonna meet a dwarf in a bar. Ooh, that's
yes.
interesting.
That was coming up now. Is that coming up?
Hopefully.
There we go.
Nice.
And I can show you the girl too, although I kind of stole the girl.
Oh my god, that's
I can show.
That's-
Is any of that visible at all? Or is it too faint?
It's
It
very
is visible.
I can see it.
It is visible. I can
it's
see
just
it.
small. You might want to
Zoom in.
You might want to zoom in.
Probably
Absolutely.
I shrank them because they were too. Yeah, next time I do this, I think this will have to do for pictures for now, because otherwise we'll spend all day doing this.
Yeah.
Pictures do tell stories, so
Yeah, and this is from all stuff from last time, and the stuff from this time will have to wait till next week, I think. Otherwise, I'll never get around to actually reading anything. Is it coming up? The lady coming up now?
yes, the teenage-looking character had "duh" on its T-shirt.
Yes, that was the chap. Yeah, that's duh. Anyway, that's Fred. I mean, anyway, the lady's not coming up, but hey, whatever. Maybe next time. Chapter 6. They learn stuff. This thing is appallingly badly written, grumbled Bozo as they got up next morning. Full of repetition, it makes me sick to my stomach having to recite this crappy dialogue. If the author perpetrates another different than, I swear I'll revolt. Whatever, said Fred uncharacteristically. They did some more boring travel stuff. Pardon me a second. That night, Bozo didn't engage in wild, passionate lovemaking with Lovelinda. It gets better.
It gets fucking better.
They were interrupted by the druid tapping Bozo on the shoulder. Bad timing, said Bozo. You aren't supposed to do that, said the druid. We weren't, said Bozo. Good, said the druid. Shouldn't you be giving us some kind of history spiel about now? Suggested Bozo. I must, agreed the druid reluctantly. I'll wake the others. He did. When he had got them all together, he babbled at great length. Long ago, he said, Sauron ruled benevolently until he was overthrown by the evil lord, Baddie. Note that I didn't say dark, but evil. But thanks to Pipsqueak's bravery and his shining sword, Bugaboo, Baddie failed to take over the world and had to retreat. Pardon me, I need to get some water. Had to retreat. I'll go through that. Of course, my modem fell on the floor now.
Balearical difficulties.
Yes, yes. Very much so. So, Batty failed to take over the world and had to retreat to the northern Corpse Kingdom. Batty and Sauron were both druids, but Batty corrupted their wisdom out of lust for power and the usual crud. Why should we care? Asked Dork Lumpen, that's the dwarf. Only two things prevent Batty's universal triumph and a whole lot of bad mojo, said the druid, whose name was Waffleon, if anyone cares. One is the sword of Pipsqueak and the other is Sauron's diary. The first can only be wielded by Fred, the second by Bozo. Yada, yada, yada. We already knew all that, said Bozo. I didn't, said Fred. Why can only we wield it? You're awfully slow, said Bozo. Of course only we can wield them, because we're the protagonists. Get a clue, man. Then he turned to the druid. When do we confront you and find out the secret of my birth and all that? Not yet, said the druid. Quite right, approved Bozo. That shouldn't happen till later on in the story. I'd ask you how it was we were able to defeat the nasty so easily, but you've got to keep up the old suspense, eh? Stop being meta, thundered Waffleon. Whatever, said Bozo. Ho-ho, began Bluff before Dork quickly and efficiently gagged him. As I was saying, resumed Waffleon, we need Sauron's diary as a blueprint for peace and justice in our time. That sounds boring, said Fred, disappointed. I thought this was going to be about swords and sorcery. Maybe this story won't suck after all, said Bozo. But when do we get irrevocably changed? Later, replied the druid curtly. Well, duh, said Bozo. The druid ignored this. We have to go on a long journey to get Sauron's diary, so Bozo can nab the bad guy and throw the book at him, as it were, he said. But first we have to visit some elves and have a boring council, and a couple of expendable extras have to join our party. Then we go to some dark, scary place from which some of us will not survive. Good, said Bozo. These characters annoy me, except Levelinda, and even she could use a dash of personality. Afterwards, Fred sought out Bozo and said, What do you think of these revelations? Are they totally way cool or what? Sorry. Oh, is this the bit where we bond after realizing that our lives have changed beyond recall and our childhood is gone forever? Said Bozo wearily. Very, very well, but I'd rather be romping with Levelinda. Shut up, said Fred. Want chapter 7?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Sure.
Chapter 7. Elves or Ponzi Gits. And the page is still loading. Half a second.
You see me loading.
Oh yeah. This website, it's not Malwarebytes. I think doesn't like my website. Doesn't like this website. It thinks it's a scam website. So it keeps sending anything on it. It's kind of annoying. Yes, I told you to. Okay. And now I have to wait for it to load. Sorry. Come on. My audience is waiting and they're getting annoyed and they're getting ready to lynch me.
Well, it does have good jokes. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's very, very good jokes.
It does.
I did my best, or my worst, as the case may be. Transferring data.
1 hour later.
Did you say 1 hour later just now?
Yeah. Yeah.
2,000 years later.
So lovely that the original narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it be right if I died while waiting for this thing to load?
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
We're here. It's loaded finally, though. They arrived. They arrived in Kiblaran, the land of the elves. Everything was almost too well decorated, if you like pink. The trees looked as if they were of plastic, as most of them probably were. The elves were all incredibly poncy with long hair and perfume, and they all spoke with snobby Brit accents. Everything they did with an air. "What the shades are we doing here?" asked Fred. "You're so clueless," replied Bozo. "These guys have mega hit points and stuff, and besides they're elves, as in elvish, and elven. They're probably all made in some third world country." "Silence," said the druid. "I will do all the explaining stuff, prole." Bozo shrugged. The company was approached by elvish guards, etc., but we'll skip all that and go straight to the bit where they meet the king. "This is Alfentroll Bombadil, king of the elves," said Wolflon. Everyone bowed, even Bozo, though he could not help remarking, "I should have known your Majesty's name would be a bad imitation of Tolkien." "Whatever," said the king. "I guess it's time for the council." "Yes, let's get it over with," said Fred. "Elves suck." So they held the council. In attendance were the king, the king's son and daughter, the druid, the dwarf, the bluff-hearted guy, the two no-hope protagonists, and some obnoxious warrior guy. "This is my son Anathan," said the king, "and this is my daughter Excedrin, and this obnoxious guy is a great warrior, Bombador Schmo." "I should be king of the main mortal country. Not Gondor. What was it? Oh yeah, Traskadat," said the obnoxious guy. "Fred's the rightful ruler," said the druid. "He has Pipsqueak's sword." "Maybe I'll kill him or something," said the obnoxious guy. "Don't worry," said Bozo to Fred. "He won't. In fact, he'll probably die. The only drag is that means Bluff will probably live." "Ho, thou startest to bore me, friend," said Bluff. Bozo shrugged. Fred paid little attention to this, for he was intent upon Excedrin's cleavage. Her bosom was easily the largest portion of her anatomy, but was pretty obviously fake. She looked tough and mean, and unusually for an elf, she didn't lisp. "These people are joining our party," said the druid. "Except the king, that is." "More expendable extras," said Bozo. "Let's get on with it." "I hate these elves, by the way," said Dork. "In case you forgot, he's the dwarf. Actually, I hate everyone." "Like we care, loser," said Anderson. "The council's over," said the king. "Now everyone kindly bug off." That night, Fred and Bozo talked a bit. Fortunately, not too much. "I don't lust after Lovelinda anymore," said Fred. "And now I lust after Excedrin." "You won't get her," said Bozo. "It would be too symmetrical, since I'm an elf. But of course I don't know that yet." "I told you to stop being meta," hissed Waffleon. "Do not flout me." "Yeah, right. As if. No way," muttered Bozo. "Shut up. I hate this smart talk. I just want to kill everyone," said Bombador. Fred walked over to Excedrin's bed. "I loveth thou," he said. Excedrin kicked him 10 miles away before yelling after him, "I don't associate with your sort." There are way too many female characters, thought Bozo. I bet one of them dies or something. Do you want the next chapter? Or should I quit here while I'm ahead?
Quit here while I'm ahead.
Yeah.
Me as well. Yeah.
Echo.
That's funny.
Oh, it is definitely good jokes. Well
Mhm.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you, my good people. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
A grand applause is needed. Yes.
Allow me to just get up and bow.
Woo.
I'm going to spend the next hour bowing. The person will have to, next person will have to wait till I'm done doing that.
That works.
I'm sure it does.
So for the artwork on screen, is that the bosomy lady or is that something else?
No, that's that's been there for a while. Oh, I think that's Levelinda.
Oh,
Oh, she's pretty.
I didn't draw her, of course. I stole her from somewhere.
that's
Well,
That's
good.
okay. I find that I do that for a few things. I do that if I need something to look at while I describe something because I have no idea how I'm supposed to describe it without something to look at.
yeah.
I have a whole file full of stolen references.
Yeah.
My Pinterest is basically like mostly cast lists where I cast my books with actors and actresses that I want to play that character.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You could not.
Yeah, but the dragons we're going to get a copyright strike about now.
They don't really strike artwork. Bots don't. The only bots employed on YouTube are visual and audio box and visual and audio bots.
Unfortunately. It
Yeah,
means we
which is-
can't have any of the really good music on our streams anymore.
I made my own music. Hey.
Cool.
Oh, sorry. I'm working on my intro, so that's why I made my own music. I picked up some music and then remixed it so badly that, you know, it's no longer able to listen and then make a good animated picture out of it, but not fully done.
Cool.
See, my problem is that I'm Jewish, so I have no rhythm. Period. It's kind of like watching a fish flap around on land. It's kind of pathetic.
Funny how you're Jewish and I'm Jewish, and yet I can carry a tune and play instruments.
Well, there's always in it. Well,
I mean,
shots fired.
Yeah, I mean, there's an enormous Jewish presence in music for a long time.
Don't forget, maybe you guys can read music and music notes, but I cannot read music notes because I'm so dyslexic that I don't even know. I only know how to play music by, you know, doing the same thing as Guitar Hero and then, you know, pressing the buttons like that. That's how I learned music. That's how I learned Godfather.
I don't read music either very well.
That's a sad thing. It took me that too before I understood oh, that's what they mean by keep with the rhythm.
I mostly go by ear.
Yeah.
I can read sheet music too, so.
Yeah, I love sound benefits a lot. And then I can sort of read it, but not really, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, am I too perfect now?
Neph is Mary Sue. Confirmed.
I always had a
No,
feeling.
I can't be Mary Sue. I'm still struggling to learn my ocarina. And I'm struggling to remember some of the tunes that I'm supposed to have memorized. Grr.
You're still a Mary Sue. Everyone loves you. You're our Mary Sue, so it's fine.
Okay.
Oh,
Every story needs one.
Yeah. So, for example, this is kind of an example of like all of my Pinterest boards.
Oh.
The
Now I know what I wanted to say.
Oh, nice.
Now my joke doesn't count anymore, damn it. I just wanted to say this, like, it isn't stealing, as long as it's not missing, of course.
It's not stealing, it's called cultivating.
Yes,
No.
exactly.
Listen,
sounds-
it's
that
internet
sounds
piracy. You can't
refined.
steal. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Occupation Army has been watching me play Ocarina of Time 3D. He can confirm I'm not a Mary Sue because I make a lot of mistakes.
Or the
It's
ice
fun,
level.
though. Yeah.
The ice level. Push that thing.
Yeah, that was. Oh my god, I can't believe that. Ugh.
Well, cultivating is just cutting pieces off of it.
If she's a Mary Sue, I guess I'm probably the villain.
Maybe I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. This is kind of like an example of like what I did with casting the young Dragonlord.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like just an example of like some of the like what I did in terms of like picking who would play what. That's kind of just how it worked out. Even like picking like what kind of swords I wanted, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think I wanted Lova Linda to actually be kind of pretty, and if I'd drawn her, well, maybe she'd be pretty. Maybe I could make her pretty. I don't know. But, yeah.
Yeah, not only that, but my emulator is Tisme, so even if I was perfect at the game, I'd probably still be making mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I believe it is Johann's turn.
Yes, looks by it. Well, hold on, I just want to do one single thing before I go. Double checking something. Yep. I have now the thing with me. I don't know if you all remember the last spot I read it down. It was actually the. Oh boy, I did something wrong here. Hold on. I pressed the wrong button, and we're gonna go to open, and then there you go. So the first part that I read it was actually part 7, the Temple of the Temple of Mantoria. So that was the first one that I read it here, and now we're actually in part 9. So as you already noticed that I skipped part 8 of this story because I have not read that down yet. So we're gonna go now to part 9, which is the dwarven problem, as it is normal that there is a dwarven problem, right? So let's get started. The High Temple of Kundera. It's guarded by 10 heavily armed guards, their faces covered by a helmet that represents a dragon, the holy symbol of the Kunderians. The temple itself is surrounded by an inner wall, and around that lays the city of Kundera. The Kundera is a military state that's ruled with an iron fist, and overthrew the kingdom of Redkeep. Kundera, the leader, Kundera's leader, is a Redkeep prince, who was put into exile by a curse bestowed by his own mother. He returned after 20 years and raised an army. With the power of the cursed sword of El-Karish, he bestowed eternal life to his followers. The kingdom itself is still at war with the last remaining allies of Redkeep. The war is already lasting more than 100 years, blood spilled on both sides. As a bird landed in the beautiful peaceful garden, the captain of the 3rd Legion approached the inner gate and is let through. Bloodied and wounded, he approaches. As he looked at the 2 guards at the door of the High Temple, and without a word, he's let through. The temple is huge, with statues on both sides, wearing dragon skulls in their hands, and in the middle sits their king. His eyes red as blood, his skin as black as charcoal. He looks at he looks the captain up and down. A calm and gentle voice is heard. Please, please, Captain Arisato, speak. What news do you have to bring for me today? Arisato kneels and looks down. Suddenly, the door behind him is closed and locked. My king, I have bad news to bring. The dwarves found a way to defeat the army. Arisato stopped talking. A sudden fear is shown in his eyes, like he saw death for the first time again. The king stands up from his throne. They what, Arisato? What happened, Captain? Arisato begins to stutter when he tries to speak. They found a way to undo the internal process. A long pause is heard a long pause is heard. Then Aristotle finally finished the sentence. They found a way to kill an internal, my king. The dwarfs found a way. The calm and gentle voice in the king begins to change into anger and hatred. Enough! Did you at least bring me the corpses of your legion with you? Aristotle quickly responds, but fear is heard in his voice. No, my king, we were ambushed. I had not such time to bring the corpses with me, my king. The face of the king changes with fire in his eyes. Slowly looks downwards to his sword. I see. So you were not only not able to bring me your fallen legion, but you also ran away from the battle and abandoned your posts. Slowly and stealthily, dark roots creep towards Arisato. But my king, don't you see? The dwarves found a way to defeat an internal. I thought that would be a reason enough. The king forms one of his hands into a fist. The roots grapple Arisato, lifting him from the ground. Arisato tries to remove the grapple, but every time he tries, the roots tighten their grip. The roots themselves prevent Arisato from speaking or moving at all. You can see the fear in his eyes when the king starts to move closer and closer towards him. Dear Arisato, it seems I don't have any use for you anymore. Only a fool would show fear in the heart of battle. I guess this is the end for you. The king's left hand starts to glow. Starts glowing blue. The screams are heard coming from it, and then the room goes silent when the king pierces his hand into the body of the captain and rips his soul out, leaving nothing behind, as the corpse of the captain gets absorbed into the crystal of his gauntlet. He signs, "These dwarves are getting on my nerves, and they found a way. Fuck!" He flips one of the chairs over and starts destroying the furniture in the room. To calm his anger, a few moments passed, and some of the benches have been broken down. Others have punching holes in them. The king goes back to sit on his throne, his eyes still burning with anger. How could I have been such a fool that I have not seen this coming? He stands up again and moves to the large statue at the end of the room. The light pierces through the colorful windows, revealing a statue of a dragon. It looks like the temple has been built around it. He moves up the stairs to the second floor, where he stops at the head of the dragon and touches it. Oh, dear Sasha, my beloved Sasha. I wish these fools never did this to you. One day, they will be no more, and you will be free of this curse, so we can make this world a better place, a beautiful place, like the one you always dreamed of. He turns around and looks at the destruction he made. What a mess! I should clean this up after all. No one needs to know what happened here. He uses magic to restore the furniture. Slowly but steadily, the furniture is moved back into their original position, with no trace of their destruction. After that, the bells of the temple toll, and the front gate is open once again. In the garden, The magical circle starts to glow in the rhythm of the bells that have been tolled. A plant-like figure appears. The plants around it start to die, like it's absorbing their energy. The creature breathes heavily, like it's gasping for air every single time. Burn marks are shown on his left arm. The creature itself covered his face with a wooden mask that he pulled out of his backpack, possibly hiding other burn marks. Slowly but steadily, his eyes glow red, like those of the king. Every step it makes in the garden, the less lively the garden looks. Eventually, the creature goes into the church, and the door is closed again. The king sits in his throne and looks up when the shambling plant-like creature kneels in front of him. With a calm voice and a grin on his face, the king speaks. Kanzo Matamori. Long time no see. You arrived just in time. We have business to discuss. I am just waiting for one more person. With a heavy breath, Kanzo starts to talk. You can hear it in his voice, the severe breathing problem. My king, but the door has been closed, and no one is allowed to enter. So, on who are we waiting for? The king's grin starts to form into a smile, with jagged teeth are shown. My friend, are you already? Are you that old already? That you lost your mind? We're waiting for your brother, of course. Kanzo tries to respond, but all the light in the temple. As Kanzo tries to responds, all the light in the temple flickers, and dark mist descends near Kanzo. Come on, I'm almost there. Yeah. A dark mist slowly descends near Kanzo, manifesting into a person covered in white clothes, carrying a scythe with a burning blue flame. He looks towards Kanzo and smiles. The hatred in Kanzo's eyes is shown. You are supposed to be deaf. We fought you in the war for the city of Bardoza. You caught 7 crossbow bolts to the chest and survived while striking me with that fire of yours. I killed you with my own poisonous blade and saw your life slipping away. This is madness! The king laughs out loud. Madness? You poor old man! Do you even understand the reason behind all of this? This is my finest creation, Kanzo. This will make our army even stronger. The finest warriors fighting for us now. And I'm holding all the strings. This is gonna be glorious, Kanzo. Just glorious! They don't even know what's hit them. His smile tells it all. I want you to create a device. To create a hole inside the mountain where the dwarves are holding their grounds. And once we make that hole, they will die very soon after. The king bursts into a menacing laughter. Kanzo makes a salute but looks irritated. It will be done, my king. Give me 3 more months, and I will deliver. But keep that burning barrow away from me. I do not wish to feel that pain again. Down that fateful day. The king stands up and stops laughing. The door opens once again. Very well, Kanzo. It will be done. Now leave. And you there. Go! I promise I promote you as the new captain of the 3rd Legion. New legionnaires will arrive at your post tomorrow. Now, be on your way. As fast as he arrived, he leaves again. in a dark mist, traveling to the location that was having given mentally to him by the king. When Kanzo arrives at the garden, he starts mumbling to himself, knowing now that the man who scarred him for life is alive again, and teleports away frustrated. Meanwhile, the king summons a silver mirror, showing Sir Julius. Julius, are you finished with your task I gave you? Julius bows. Of course, my king. When will the money arrive? The king smiles. Very soon, my friend. I have a job for you. Find a new energy source, collect it, and bring it to me, and you will be rewarded greatly. I'm talking about lots of dwarven gold, I mean. Julia's eyes are wide open and grins and grins. My king, you got a deal. I hope you have your gold ready when I arrive, and I will be there very soon. The king dismisses the silver mirror and sits back on his throne with a smile on his face. Then he starts laughing manically. That's it for that chapter.
There was some passion in that.
Oh yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. I feel
I
it.
like that.
Yeah. I definitely get the feeling like maniacal mustache twirling villain. from that one.
Yeah, those kinds of villains can be some of the most fun villains to write.
Oh, easily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This villain is really a dick to everyone.
Oh yeah, he straight up killing his own minions.
Yep. Like a true necromancer would.
You narrate with gusto.
Yeah, if you're a necromancer, you have no problems killing your minions because you can bring them back to life just as
Whenever you
easily.
like.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
They're already
Better.
anyways.
It's a breeze. I did it 20 times today. You narrate with gusto.
Yeah. Kanzo is like a very intelligent person, but he's like already really hurt from the war. And now he realized like, fuck, this guy just resurrected a guy that I fucking hate. God damn it! And the king does that to enforce Kanzo to do his bidding. Because, you know, he wants to show Kanzo like, you're not gonna fucking backstab me on this one, my friend. Here, have your main nemesis be is now my minion.
Yeah.
That's always a riot.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, this is like the introduction, so that Julius has a reason to go after the crystal that's going to be found by the explorers. So because Julius already knows it because of earlier chapters, he knows about the crystal, and now he gets an order to get the crystal, and because he likes money, and he's a fucking he's like a hired, not like a hired mercenary, but a hired assassin. He will take that job offer like, oh, you're gonna give me more? All right, fine, I will do it. I don't mind.
I like
Yeah.
a good work ethic in an assassin.
Yeah, it's like walking into a cakewalk. He only has to go into a jungle, pick them off, and then get the crystal from them.
Yeah.
Like what I'm gonna be trying to write is like in the Lion King. So like, may long live the king, that kind of approach. Because the explorers don't know that Julius is a murderer. They only know that he is like a representative of, Condera. They don't know that he's just murdering high officials left and right from the Dwarven Kingdom to make sure that nobody knows what's going on.
Uh-huh.
So that was the mission before. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So that's the talk. That's the introduction to the main bad guy. I hope you guys liked it.
I certainly did. It was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
Very
Thank you.
entertaining.
Well, that was it.
Alrighty.
F, it's your turn.
Thank you. Okay, so this is something I started maybe 3 days ago, and I already have 2,000 words of it, which is why I decided I'd read it. I call it Wolfpack. Would you like the summary? Okay.
Yes.
May as well. Go ahead.
The hero of Twilight hates being called Wolfie when he is in the form of a wolf. He wasn't Wolfie. Wolfie was his papa. No time. It's not funny. So yes, this is a linked universe fanfic.
Okay.
Chapter 1. Fathers don't just come in the shape of humans. The golden wolf with a single red eye sniffed at the air. He could taste the smoke and ash on the wind, and he could practically feel the heat on his fur coat. He began to growl low in his throat as a sinking feeling made itself known in his stomach. The golden wolf let out a howl which echoed across the woods he called home. He was more ethereal, his coat glowing with an unnatural light. This wolf was more spirit than flesh as he sprinted through the underbrush, moving without sound, the leaves of bushes and low-hanging branches left undisturbed. He knew where he was going. Once, he'd had a form other than the golden wolf. He'd had a home, a family, a legacy, and now it was burning. Link, named for his great-grandfather, woke to a coughing fit. The room was full of smoke, and there was a flickering light under the doorframe of his bedroom. Tears filled his eyes as he struggled to take in breath, and he realized what must have happened. Their house was on fire. Had Mama left the stove on? Had Father left the fireplace uncovered? Link did not know. He just knew somewhere in his panicking mind that he needed to get out of the house if he wanted to continue living. Link rolled out of bed and onto the floor where he could breathe easier. He crawled to the door and pressed his hand to the wood. It was warm, really warm, and felt like it might ignite at any moment. Okay, so he couldn't go that way. There was a wolf howl from a long way off, and Link scrambled away from the door towards the window. And not a moment too soon, as the door to his bedroom burst into flames. Link made a grab for his wooden toy sword and the stuffed wolf doll his grandmother had made him as he scooted close to the window. There was that wolf call again, closer this time. Link coughed weakly as he shifted his wolf plush under one arm. "Help!" he cried. The wolf howled again, so close that Link thought it might be right outside his house now. When the window exploded inward, revealing a huge wolf with a golden pelt. The wolf gave the back of Link's left hand a glance, where 3 triangles had made themselves known just this morning, and snatched the back of Link's pajama shirt in its teeth. Then it jumped back out the window and loped into the forest, leaving the burning Lon Lon Ranch behind. Link jolted awake a few hours later, gasping for breath. He looked around. No, his home burning down wasn't a dream, as evidenced by the fact that there was a huge golden wolf curled around him to keep him warm. Link hugged his wolf, with the strange forehead marking close. He bit back a whimper. Wolves were dangerous animals, and he wasn't sure what this one would do if he woke it. He almost lazily opened his eyes as he felt the boy he knew as Twilight shift. His boy would need food and shelter. Food he could do, shelter not so much. The wolf, once known as the hero of time, carefully sat up, licking his boy's cheek affectionately. Twilight yelped in surprise, tensing slightly before slowly opening his eyes. You're not gonna eat me? The hero of time snorted as he started to clean the boy's hair with his tongue. It tasted of ash. He'd need to get his boy a bath as soon as possible. How far away were they from Ordon? He didn't know. The hero of time picked Twilight up by the scruff of his shirt again and made his way farther into the woods. He knew where there was a stream and there was some ice-cold revenge to be had on his adorable little boy. A 10-minute walk later, and the hero of time dumped his adorable little descendant into the lukewarm water of the stream. He chuckled in amusement as his child spluttered, the water running downstream, turning a very light blue as the ash from the fire washed out his clothes. Not funny, Twilight pouted as he pulled himself out of the stream. It is from where I'm sitting, young Link, the hero of time's deep voice said softly. Link's head snapped up, his eyes frantically searching for the owner of that calm, affectionate voice. There was no one there. No one but the wolf that had saved him from his burning house. The wolf looked entirely too amused at his predicament. Was that you? Link asked in a small voice. Who else would it be? The voice asked as the wolf cocked his head to one side. But Wolfie, I don't want you to leave, Link protested as the huge golden wolf led the half-feral 13-year-old and a half-grown filly with a white mane and tail across an old, almost rickety-looking bridge. I'm not leaving you, Twilight, Wolfie's voice replied. I will still be here. But it won't be the same, Link whined. Wolfie stopped, turned round, and lunged. He landed hard on Link's chest, and Link fell backwards, his back meeting the ground hard. You need more than just me and Epona, his deep voice said. There is only so much I can teach you, and you have a grand destiny ahead of you. I still don't get what this weird triangle mark has to do with anything, Link grumbled as Wolfie got off him. And I don't need other humans. I have you and Epona. Isn't that enough? He sat up, rubbing his sore behind. No, it isn't, Wolfie growled. You are Farore's current chosen. Get your act together, Link. Link winced. Wolfie rarely called him by his actual name, and only when he was upset. I understand, Wolfie, I do. He trailed off, looking at the sunset. But I'm afraid. It feels like the moment you leave, something bad is going to happen. Silly pup. Wolfie chuckled as he leaned forward, licking Link's cheek affectionately. I will never leave you. Then why does it feel like things are about to go very wrong? Link asked as he continued to watch the sunset. The fact that Wolfie, his papa for the last 5 years, stayed silent was telling. I cannot go any farther than this, Twilight, Wolfie said as he came to a stop at the other side of the bridge. He turned and sat down, making eye contact. Beyond this point, you will find the Ordon Spring in the village of Ordon, which will be your home from now on. We can continue our training in the Faron Woods, but I can come no closer to Ordon than this. Link's lower lip trembled. He tried to be strong, and part of him wanted to turn around and go back to the forest, just ignore the world outside of his strange little cobbled-together family of a horse, a wolf, and himself. Link hated that he could not do so. And that's the end of chapter 1.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
I still have part of chapter 2 to read if you would like.
Was I the only one hoping that little Link would tell the wolf, "Screw you, you're not my real dad"?
No,
Or
no.
or I would have killed to hear you're like my own personal brand of heroin.
No, that kind of dialogue does not belong in this wholesome story. So,
well,
So no
yeah,
small dragons in this one.
I'm gonna go ahead and read what I have of chapter 2. Chapter 2 is
Yes.
not finished, but
we still need to give Tarek and me some time to read.
that's true. But I
How
only
long
have
is it?
2,000 words, so
2,000 words.
yeah. I
Is it-
usually have maybe 2,000 and
I
a
think
couple
that will
hundred
take
more.
me like maybe a month of trying to do my writing.
Yeah, and I've only been working on this for like 3 days.
Yeah,
Jeez.
2,000
doing
words is
quick.
like what 2,000 words is what I have. Is my average in about a day.
2,000? I can do that in like 2 hours.
I am jealous.
300. There you go. My
I did-
record.
I did
Okay,
10,000 just now.
Chapter
Realizing-
2. Chapter 2.
Okay.
They didn't do a chapter
Ordon and
two.
Ordona. Don't worry, there's not much.
Okay.
Ordon Village, Link decided after all of a week, is disgustingly tranquil. How could people live like this? Sure, they were all nice people, but Link didn't want to get used to living in the house he'd been given on the outskirts of town. Vado, the kid of the goat farmers, was weird. He did not know how the residents could stand their smell. The goats were odious and pungent, and Link could hardly smell anything at all after spending a few hours in the paddock with them. He'd felt sick for the rest of the day after that. Worst of all was Ilya, the girl who had met him on his way into the village, Bo's daughter. She'd disappeared with Epona, his little sister, twice already. He found them easily both times, but Ilya could not seem to understand that he didn't want to let Epona leave his sight. She might be a horse, but she was also his sister. They were in a strange place, and Wolfie had taught him not to let themselves be separated until they were comfortable. At least he had a way of calling her with the tune Wolfie had taught him. Suffice to say, Link did not like it here in Ordon Village. He wanted to go back to Wolfie in Barren Woods. The nights were just as bad. They were so quiet compared to camping in the woods. Most of the sounds were just gone, even in his house. He'd managed to spend 2 nights in that house, not consecutively, but it drove him crazy. Everything about the house, its feel, its scent, was wrong. It may seem clean to the people living in this village, but he could still smell the dust in every corner. And Link hadn't found any time at all to sneak off into the woods to spend time with Wolfie. He really missed his papa. He was feeling anxious, and he wanted to return to the Farron Woods. He had not been allowed to leave Ordon Village since he'd arrived. Papa, Link breathed. A longing sigh. His little sister Epona nudged his foot with her nose, and Link reached down with his left hand to pet the top of her head. No one seems to get that you aren't just a horse, sis, he said. He could howl, but Wolfie wouldn't come running. Link closed his eyes and listened to the quiet night, hoping to hear a familiar howl, but it never came. Link bit into his lip to keep the whimper in his throat, and it worked, for maybe long enough for the rest of the village to turn in for the night. Then, once he was sure it was late enough for everyone else to be asleep, Link lifted his head and looked up at the sky, letting out a howl, a haunting wolf-like howl. It sounded almost like a wolf pup calling for a parent. Link didn't care what he sounded like, because right now he felt lost and alone. Eventually his howl faded in his throat, and Link closed his eyes to listen, hoping that Wolfie would reply. It was faint, but an answering howl reached his ears, a voice he recognized. Wolfie. Link smiled sadly, relaxing in a way that he hadn't all week. Epona lifted his toes questioningly, and Link chuckled quietly. I'll be okay now, little sis, he reassured his horse as he pulled his feet up beneath him and got to his feet on the tiny deck at his front door. Good night, Epona, he said as he opened his front door and went inside.
Nice.
Link looked out the window longingly for a long moment before ascending the ladders and settling on the still too soft bed and tried to fall asleep. Oi, Link! Link roused himself from his slumber and looked blearily out his window. Yeah, Fado, he called down. Did you need something? He asked sleepily. My parents want you to help with the goats today, Fado called back. In exchange, they'll break Epona to the attack. At the word break, the color drained from Link's face. They wanted to break his sister? No, that couldn't ever be allowed. He didn't want his sister's spirit broken. He was frozen in indecision. On one hand, Wolfie had told him that Ordon would be his home. On the other, Epona was his sister, and he didn't want her to get hurt. I can ride her just fine as she is, Fado, he called back. Still, if he was going to live here, then he needed a job in the village. Working on the ranch with the goats was going to be murder on his nose. He just knew it. And that's all I have.
All right.
Cool. So, I believe it is Tarek's turn.
All right.
She might be a horse, but she was still his sister.
Yes.
I like that.
I'm kind of like, I'm sure that raises a lot of questions in the village. But anyway.
Well, no, he hasn't actually said anything about it. They just think that she's his horse. So
the child needs therapy. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Well, I did say he's half feral because he was raised for 5 years by a freaking wolf. So.
All right.
Dear.
Even then. Okay, so what this is today is when I first came on, I did the journal entry from my Warhammer days back when I played the RPG. This is the sequel to that. So when we left off, Nicole had met the crew. She met up with an old friend, and now they're about ready to go on their adventure. So this is the second and sadly last journal entry before the game kind of hit a roadblock, and then we just never really picked up again. Okay. All right. And like last time, I wrote a little quote of the day, or like Imperium words to ponder, but the quote is, when life gives you boys, you make a wog. And that's from her Uncle Gruck, an orc. Okay. So, I had been on many vessels as a child, mostly while accompanying my father, the Lord Admiral, on business on behalf of our home, Jaika. Every time I would accompany him, I would always find my way to the flight deck. I watched the Fury squadrons perform their training regimen, mechanics and tech priests watching sparks fly as they made repairs. On one occasion, I got in trouble for climbing into one of the Furies and playing with the onboard computer. Dad had to be called down to pull me away so the pilots and tech priests could resume their work. I thought I would be in trouble. I was ready to be scolded when something different happened. Dad looked proud and promised to teach me everything. He knew about ships, how to repair them, how to maintain them, but most importantly, how to fly them. It was also that day that Dad told me something I would carry with me forever. He said, Nicole, the stars and skies, these are your birthright. From that day on, Dad taught me everything I needed to know about being a Void Master. Whenever he was home, we would spend hours looking over star charts, doing maintenance on ships, studying the parts and tools, and of course, flying. I can still remember the first time he let me take the controls of one of his Furies, letting me take off from the hangar, fly through the void. My favorite part was when he turned off the engine, we just drifted in silence for several minutes. The colors and lights from the stars, quasars, galaxies, nebulas, it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen and became one of my most cherished memories. Before we went back to his cruiser, he said, "Though you were born on Jaika, the void will always be your home." However, those days are now nothing more than a memory. I am now an officer of the rogue trader Erica Damos. Under normal circumstances, I would believe that my rank came solely due to my father's influence. However, anyone who understands anything about the Damos family knows that the words normal circumstances don't often apply to them. I have been stationed on the Brisk Intervention, Erica's personal light cruiser, along with the other officers I had met the previous day. It is an impressive ship, and the cost to build it must have set Terran back more thrones than I could ever see in several lifetimes. Erica brought us all into the briefing room, began to tell us about some of the ship's accommodations, as well as telling us we would need to wait to get our orders from her father. So she suggested we use the time to acclimate ourselves with the ship. All of us were given free reign, as well as shown to our bunks. My bunk was pretty simple, nothing more than a bed with a shower and a metallic table. And a metallic table and chair for writing and eating. Truth be told, the room is less luxurious than I was used to, since I would normally sleep in the captain's quarters when I was with Dad. However, I grew up with Uncle Grok and Mom too, where the accommodations were more Spartan. So the room didn't bother me much, and it felt kind of homely. However, my favorite feature of the room was the window, allowing me to view the galaxy as it passes us by. Dad was right. The void really did feel like home. It took a few days for me to acclimate to living on a vessel full time, and I spent them exploring. I kept my time to places like the engine room, examining the weapon systems, reading through the ship's design documents, doing practice runs with the other pilots, as well as occasional target practice on the ship's onboard gun range. However, just like when I was a child, I was drawn to the flight deck and hangar where I would spend most of my time. After about a week on board, I settled into a routine where I would work in the hangar, calibrating the guns on the Furies, running diagnostics on the engines, and making some adjustments to the controls. I would only stop to take meals in the mess hall, normally with Mole and Millen, who would entertain us with one of his new sets as we ate. Every so often, even Erica would join us, saying that she occasionally liked to go slumming. There were a few times that guy Leo tried to seduce me. This resulted in him receiving a few bruises and a black eye. I don't normally mind it when someone attempts to seduction. In fact, I kind of like it, but a Tyranid would have more charm than this guy. During our third week, while still waiting for orders, several pilots and I had just finished our practice flight. I overheard one of the pilots complaining about Fury K431UM was drifting off to the left to one of the tech priests. Instead of waiting for them, I grabbed my tool belt and got to work on the ship. These were my ships and my responsibility, and I'll be damned if the pilot thinks a tech priest can do a better job than me. I had discovered that the bolts that had kept the stick aligned had either cracked or loosened, most likely due to the ship being an older model. I was in the middle of replacing the bolts when suddenly Erica's voice broke through the speaker. She was ordering all officers to the bridge. I couldn't help but sigh. I had things to do. Normally these things would fall to the tech priests, but I can repair my own ships a hell of a lot faster since I don't pray to the Omnisci every 30 seconds or whenever I turn a bolt. I put my Omni tool back in my belt and picked up my data slate and walked towards the ship's main elevator. The elevator took off to the upper decks of the ship as I checked to see if I had any messages. Nothing. I put the data slate down and looked at my reflection in the chrome wall of the elevator. My long white hair was put in a ponytail so it would stay out of my face while working. My cheeks had a few spots of soot on them. My white tank top was a mess, wrinkled with spots of engine grease and oil on it. In truth, it was kind of stupid to wear white while doing ship maintenance. My olive pants were covered in all sorts of grime and soot. At least my boots were still clean as far as I could tell. Truth be told, at this point, I was just grateful I wasn't tracking oil into the elevator. When I got off, almost everyone was there, including the mutant who I could only describe as some kind of wolf-man hybrid, and some teenager we had picked up last week. I really didn't take the time to get to know him. Erica stood in front of the tactical table, her back towards us as Mole and Leo joined us last. The only person I didn't see was the Eldar who had arrived with the mutant. Erica turned around and began to speak about our latest assignment. We were going to assassinate a pirate lord. This particular pirate lord had been paid off by Terran's family not to raid their ships. However, with the new crusade happening, the Deimos family couldn't afford to pay the tithe that he wanted for him not to go into their territory. I did a double take as I heard the word Terran and cannot afford. My only thought was, so the mountain has a peak after all. The plan was to assassinate the pirate lord using some kind of poison that would cause his implants and his stomach to fail. This would result in him drowning in his own fluids. It really wasn't something I understood. I got the concept, but the details and the mechanics behind the poison working were lost on me. Biology was never my strongest subject. Erica informed us to prepare ourselves as we were about to begin traveling through the warp. For about a week and a half in the warp, nothing happened. Well, to me anyways. A tech priest named Alan had begun raving about how he saw his grandfather and that he was giving him a warning about a red guy in a cloak and not to look at a pile of skulls. Sounded like the ravings of a lunatic. But I paid it no mind as I continued my usual routine of repairs and overall ship diagnostics. However, one night when I was asleep, I suddenly awoke. I was sitting in the cockpit of my Fury. The ship's alarm was going off as Erica was yelling that we were under attack. I checked the battle feed on the Fury. It was a small squadron attacking. I grinned. It was time to show everybody why the void was my domain. However, as I was about to turn on the Fury, my entire body froze. I looked at the switch and buttons blankly. I had forgotten which button started the damn thing, or what anything did. It was as if my connection to not only my ship, but everything I had ever known about flying had been severed. I watched in horror as stuck in the hangar as everyone took off. The squadron was disorganized and was being slaughtered. I slammed my fists into the controls and swore as tears began to form in my eyes. Every time I looked at the battlefield, another one of my pilots had just died. I slammed my controls one last time, which had resulted in nothing. And when I looked at the feed, I saw the entire squadron was dead. I looked out of the hangar and saw debris floating in the void as the attack squadron was coming in for the kill, and began slamming the ship as hard as I could. "We lost shields!" Erica's voice screamed out of the intercom. I watched as debris fell on several crewmen who began screaming in agony as they tried to crawl away from the burning metal. I could only cry and keep slamming my fists into the controls as hard as I could to get the ship moving. I only ended up destroying the controls, the consoles now sparking, and my fists bleeding. Suddenly, the cockpit's canopy came down and locked me in the ship. I pressed every button. I kept slamming the controls, but it refused to open. I turned to look at the flight deck and could only watch in terror as a fire had started and the breeze had knocked over had several fuel barrels which had begun to leak. The fuel caught fire quickly. I started to desperately kick the canopy open, a cold sweat dripping down my body. I kicked as hard as I could, and the front pane kicked out just in time to see that the fire had reached the fueling pumps next to my ship. I only had time to scream in terror as the pump exploded and engulfed me and the entire deck in an explosion. I awoke still screaming and sweating in my bed, my breath ragged and my chest pounding like a drum. I sat up and held my knees to my chest, feeling tears run down my cheeks. I wiped them away, feeling pathetic. I'm a grown woman, 23 years old, a nobilite from House Zachary, daughters to one of the heroes of Jaika. Yet here I was, sobbing like a child. I threw the sheets from my body and got dressed in the first thing I could find, just a black top and some olive pants, and walked out of my bunk. After a few minutes, I arrived at the flight deck. It was the graveyard shift. Not many crewmen were here or up at this hour, and the deck was mostly deserted, except for a few tech priests observing various instruments. I walked over to my ship and gently rubbed my hands against the hull and climbed the ladder into the cockpit. My body tensed up when I looked at the controls, when by reflex my finger hit the ignition. The sound of the engine starting filled me with relief. I closed my eyes and relaxed into my seat, comforted by the hum of the engine. The sound was more soothing to me than any lullaby. Suddenly, the sound of a raspy mechanical voice brought me out of my trance, my eyes snapping open. Have you gone mad? We're in the middle of the warp! I looked over and saw to the side and saw a tech priest staring at me with his cold, mechanical red eyes, both of them glowing. I turned off the engine and climbed out of the cockpit. I told him, sorry, I was doing some maintenance earlier and wanted to be sure that she was running smoothly. The tech priest shook his head and walked away. I could hear him making a comment about how fleshies wouldn't know the difference between Starship engine oil and plasma coolant. I was about to get out of my ship when I sat back and began to point at each button, switch, knob, and said what they did. It was something that Dad had done with me when I first was starting to learn how to fly and helped me memorize the controls. Once I finished, I relaxed in my seat. I knew what everything did. But of course I did. This was my birthright, and no one could take that away from me. After several minutes, I got up and returned to my room, where I was finally able to let sleep take me. And that's it.
Nice.
That was some nightmare.
Ooh,
Yep.
yikes. Yep.
That is like how to break someone's spirit.
They never told me what the nightmare was. All I remember from the roll was that you travel through the warp, everybody starts experiencing nightmares.
Ah.
Yeah, that's logical, right? Demons and corruption.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it.
If you travel warp 10, it turns you into a giant slug. According to Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, that's what happens if you go to warp 10.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed.
Oh yes.
Oh, I have.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did. I'm sure we did. I know I did.
I did too.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I guess it's Dun's turn.
You there?
Done?
Done.
Oh,
Did he
sorry.
die?
I was muted. No, I was muted. Sorry. I just pressed the mute button on my mic. Okay, so I've got a few options. I've got no. So sorry to disappoint the 7 people in the Dragon Blaster fandom, but I'm not reading that today.
Aww.
Get the lynch mob. Get the lynch mob.
Hey, spread out your material.
I did it
Spread
last
out your
week.
material.
Yeah, I have to edit it a little bit more. No, I'm taking it off. Since I read it last week. I am okay. Wow, dang. It's okay.
He must be overthrown.
There's-
now.
You don't have enough material to read at the moment. That's what it is.
You know,
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you
we're
got-
You
fine.
want it.
We're just joshing.
Yeah.
Well, I am anyway. I'm just joshing.
just
I'm
get
willing to
things
wait.
fixed, because art is very bad when it is rushed.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
But I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I cut out.
Art is very bad when it is rushed. So just
Yeah.
take your bloody damn time.
Yeah.
Yes, we were just saying it's fine. We don't really want to.
Yeah, it's
I know.
fine. We
We're not
want it, but
Yeah.
we're willing to wait if you don't
We're
have
not
enough
gonna.
material.
We're not gonna lynch you. I was just kidding.
Well, I have enough. I have edited up to page 50 of 80.
Look
But-
at Becca. I'm not joshing. I'm plotting now. She says.
Ooh.
And so the plot tickets.
Yeah. Well, I read it last week, and I would like to kind of like space out some of my material. Like I have enough. Like I did write out the next bit, but it's not like as good as like I'm really like just kind of editing through just so I can get it to from bad to passable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just kind of working on it. So I've got a few options. I've got kind of an introduction to some characters in Battle of the Seven Suns, where it's basically a war council where the crown prince, who's an idiot, shows up and gets his butt handed to him by his uncle. I've got Queen of the Ashes, where we see a complex orc villain who's kind of my version of Killmonger done right.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
And
Yeah, I like that one.
And
I like number one.
And I have another good one. What's another good one? Where's a good one? Or I have like something, a little bit of fluff from The Legend of Ashkar Longtooth, which is basically an anthropomorphic animal story.
The last one, I think.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, I go with the last
one.
Yeah.
Allow me to just roll a
Anthropomorphic animals.
D3. Hold
Do it.
on. Just hold on. Yeah. There it is. Perfect. Let's see. 4 is random. 3 it is. Yep. Roll
The
the
dice
3.
have spoken.
Yes, the dice have spoken. The mighty dice.
Alrighty. Let me find a spot in the book for me to read. I read it a little bit ago. Kind of for context. Well, actually, never mind. I think. Oh, Balerion has died. Alrighty.
R.I.P.
Some of these names might be placeholders, and at least a couple of them appear in Redwall, which I'm taking a lot of the inspiration from. But I quite like a lot of I miss Brian Jakes a lot. I really love his stuff. Like
We
his
all do.
books, his books were kind of my gateway drug into fantasy in a lot of ways, or at least like audiobooks, because the audiobooks are basically a radio drama where there's a bunch of different actors playing the characters. Yeah. Heck yeah. That works. Alrighty. Tilly Galedeep, the rotund otter bosun of the Sea Queen, good ship Sea Queen, sprinkled a bit of hot root pepper into the suit. Barry, you got the vinegar and water for the captain? She asked, pulling the soup pot off the oven top. Carefully, she poured the soup into a pair of bowls and set some covers over the soup so it wouldn't spill on the way. Got it. Barry, her new hair assistant, snuck a bite of bread and licked his fingers surreptitiously. He grabbed the 2 bottles, one filled with vinegar, the other with boiled water. Why in blue blazes does the captain only drink this disgusting swill? Oh, he asked, keeping the vinegar as far away from himself as he could. But he thinks I'm trying to poison him in his drink, Tilly remarked, shrugging. Barry's mouth dropped. Really? Of course not, Tilly sniffed. He's mad. That's how he thinks. He won't eat anything except what I prepare for him, but he searches me every single meal for poison, and he thinks that drinking vinegar and water prevents the poison he thinks I'm feeding him from working. Nice. Mouth somewhat slack, Barry licked his lips. Hell's teeth, the young hare remarked. Shift yourself, Long Ears, Tilly motioned to a tray she'd prepared previous to the hot root soup. Oop. Get the food to the captain's cabin. Hope he doesn't search me, he muttered. Oh, he will, she remarked, smacking the galley door open with her powerful rudder. Why do you think you got appointed just barely? The hair before you took up oarsman duties rather than getting prodded by our good captain. Oh, Barry's face fell. Don't worry, Tilly strode out of the cabin, carrying her tray of food out the door. Or what? While the hare grabbed his tray. It's not too invasive. Just sort of invasive. Ah, he groaned. Get a good job in the kitchen's close to scoff, I thought. Be good to get away from rigging the sails, I thought. Bally mad Captain oaking me all over. Stop complaining, Tilly barked, striding toward the captain's cabin. You get used to it after a while. Chunnering under his breath, Barry followed her to the large cabin in the stern, where Commander Tam Braybuck had his residence on his prized vessel. She carefully adjusted this tray so she could knock open the door against the door a few times, then smacked it twice with her rudder. "Enter!" Braybuck bellowed from inside his cabin. Tilly turned the doorknob and strode in, followed by a rather reluctant Barry. Tam Braybuck was a fine figure of a hare, tall, lanky, long coat fitting him perfectly. His monocle was carefully inserted into his eye, giving him a sense of being a dandy. This was contrasted by his more corsair-style clothes, with the long coat, big seafarer boots, and the long, arched saber at his side, giving him the air of a swashbuckler. He turned, revealing an eye patch in the eye that was not adorned with the monocle, peering at everything over a stylish mustache. Ah, he motioned her forward, then strode toward her. Hruva Galedeep, her mate, stood up in his chair at the table and smelled her only. "Hello, me art," he remarked, walking over to her. "Is that hot root soup I smell?" He inhaled dramatically. "Ah, your usual excellence, me dearie." She affectionately swatted him on the bottom with her rudder when he tried to sneak a few bites. "You shove over, you great wave dog," she remarked, setting down the tray and giving a big sloppy kiss on the lips. Very good, very good." Tam Braybuck stood over and his customary search of Tilly's pockets, mustache bristling slightly. She endured it with good grace, but it was slightly embarrassing when he pulled up her skirt. "Everything's fine," he remarked. "Your scheme to poison me is not going to be today." He seemed to notice Barry then, and he frowned. "Set your tray down, me laddo," he commanded. "Paws above your head." "Do I have to, sir?" Barry pleaded as he put the tray down. "Of course you do," Braybuck declared, forcing the young hare to raise his arms by the simple expedient of grabbing them and thrusting them into the air. Barry wriggled and squirmed as the mad hare searched him for poison. "You're clean," he remarked finally, waving dismissively. The Kruva rolled his eyes good-naturedly as he sat down at the table. "Go easy on the lad, Skip," he remarked. "It's his first time." I'm a perfect opportunity to slip me poison." Braybuck snatched the bottle of vinegar up and uncorked it with a single quick flick. The foul smell of vinegar wafted toward Tilly and Barry. The young hare blanched as the hare began drinking the vile stuff as if his taste buds had died long seasons ago. They probably had. "Any news from our eye in the sky?" Tilly asked, setting the table for dinner. It was a tradition that she ate with her mate and the captain, along with the aide. Kruva nodded. "Pandia flew over the sea just an hour ago before flying off on the instant." He reached into the sash across his waist and pulled out a piece of paper. The young osprey was one of a family of 3. Her son Kriak and her mother Demia were off scouting another area of the sea, while the other two ships in the hare's small armada. "Aw." Tilly was somewhat crestfallen. She liked Pandia. The young bird of prey had an excellent taste in food and was extremely polite. She always complimented Tilly's cooking whenever she ate. "She had urgent business to be about," Braybuck remarked, taking a long gulp of water before devouring a plate of pancakes as if he'd survived a 7-year famine. "We have a battle coming soon," he continued, wiping his whiskers with a lace handkerchief. "There are sea rats coming toward us, 3 ships of the Blighters, and one of them is the Dreadwing," he added, eyes alight with eagerness. Rifttail, Kruva remarked, stroking a scar on his chest. Tilly scowled darkly. That bloody rat had nearly killed her mate on 3 previous engagements, and had only gotten away through luck. In the last one, the big sea rat captain managed to disentangle himself from the fight when 2 more ships had sailed to them, forcing the sea queen to retreat before they could do more than set fire to the enemy rigging and dash away. I've been looking forward to this a very long time. Braybuck grabbed an apple and munched it down. This time the vile wretch won't escape us. Slowly he twirled his mustaches. Rifttail is mine, Kruva said quietly. Of course. Braybuck put his booted foot on the table. I would expect nothing less, considering all that's happened between the 2 of you. Tilly massaged her swollen belly. She was expecting their first otter babe very soon, and Kruva intended to make sure that their first child was born into a war where they wouldn't have to worry about sea rat slavers stealing it away. Rifttail was the worst of all that particular breed of scum. The big gale-deep otter often voiced his intentions to slay the sea rat with his own blade. Casually, Braybuck drew his saber and skewered a piece of honey bread. Boots still resting on the table, he munched on the bread contentedly. How are new weapons coming along? He asked. Since Syriac just dropped off the new set of pump-action crossbows and quarrels from the mat, and we've been drilling the crew at aiming the things. Kruva dug into the hot root soup, absently stroking Billy's stomach with a tattooed paw. She stroked his big scarred shoulder in return. For myself, I prefer a good sling, less chance of it breaking. But you have to be standing to use a sling, Milado. Braybuck speared a sliced iced fish and scarfed it down. With these crossbows, we can simply have our crew aim through the portholes and fire directly at the enemy without breaking cover. Kruva shrugged, smacking his lips absently. Perfect as always. She playfully swatted him on the arm. You great flatterer. He just smiled and gently stroked her swollen belly. When will we engage the sea rats? The wild hare commander picked up a piece of bread, then cut it into pieces. Here we are, putting it at a point on the table. Here are the sea rat ships. He put another piece somewhat farther away. At the rate we're going, we will intersect courses in 3 days. And just sending word to the other 2 ships so we can catch them in a pincer move. Kruva tapped his blunt claws on the table. Seeming smug, Braybuck oaked his mustaches. Indeed, he remarked. The issue is we'll have to hold them off for a bit while the 2 ships move in for the kill. His eyes were alight with eagerness. This may be the most pivotal battle in our war against the sea rats. If we kill Rifttail and take his ships for our own, we will have a distinct advantage over the bally rapscallions. I intend to cripple their war effort finally, and ensure safety on the South Shore. He stroked his mustache, absently looking out the window in the direction of the shore. I feel a tugging toward land, Kruva. I do not know why. He tapped the hilt of his long saber. I think there is a battle brewing near Greystone Abbey. But how that could be, I have no idea. Since the Great Vermin War, but not since the Great Vermin War has there been any kind of large horde in Brockwood. Pursing his lips, he stood up and sheathed his cutlass. Well, I will be getting some sleep. I suggest you 2 wave dogs do the same. Kruva stood up and extended his paw toward Tilly. She took the paw without comment. With her advanced pregnancy, she didn't like sitting. The baby was due soon, and it was harder and harder to get up. Rifttail gritted his teeth at the sight of the mutineers. Here's Scabbers, one of his sea rat enforcers, had brought to him. Well, he grated, drawing his broadsword and resting it against his shoulder. I hope you 2 have a good excuse for how you've been talking to the rest of the crew. The two rats, Scrat and Gava, blubbered and whined. We didn't mean it, Captain. Scrat, the shorter of the two, wailed, flopping down the deck. Don't hurt us, please. We were just asking when we're going to get more food. Riftail sighed. From what I hear, buckos, he said slowly, you were telling your mateys that I've been withholding food from me beloved crew. Would I do that, lads? Now, Captain, the other crewmates growled. So, what is the price for lying about your captain? Riftail asked, leaning down to stare into the cowering rat's eyes. Shall we keel or let them, lads? Cheers from the crew. More blubbering from the mutineers. Or shall we string them up from the yardarm? More cheers and blubbering. Or, he lowered his voice slightly, shall we feed them to the beast? Feed them to the beast, the crew chanted. The beast, the beast. The two pitiful wretches wailed even louder as the crew ushed the mutineers to the grating in the center of the deck. See you at Hellgates. Riftail kicked the two unfortunate beasts into the hole in the deck. They flew for a few seconds, then flopped it to the ground. For a moment, they stood up, looking around fearfully. Then it came out of the shadows like a blur, a large, furry creature with yellow eyes, sharp claws, and long fangs leaped from the darkness and ripped Scrat's head off his shoulders with a powerful blow of a massive paw. Gava had only enough time to scream before the creature grabbed him in a vice-like grip and sank its teeth into his neck, easily tearing his throat out. Riftail gripped the lip of the railing and slammed it shut. Let that be a lesson to any who would spread mutiny in my crew, he bellowed, the sounds of the beast feeding on the two rats punctuating his words. We have a mad hare to fight, and I will not have any traitors among my crew. They all nodded. Some seemed sick at what had just happened, but they knew that he would keep discipline in his crew, whatever the cost. And that's the end.
Nice.
Nice.
I think the captain should sound
Nice.
more like Jeffrey Rush, like doing Barbosa. But that was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Indeed. That was
Question
lovely.
though. You said these were anthropomorphized characters, right?
Yep.
So why
they're-
did
So they're
I-
literally sea rats.
No, but that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like that sounds like a slur to anthropomorphize animals.
Yeah. Cancel done.
I had no problem seeing what was going on though, because I watched Disney's Robin Hood, and that's anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah. And I made sure to like reference the fact that like it's a hare or she's an otter or
Yep.
he's a rat. Do you have any theories of what the beast could be?
Is it the alligator from The Princess and the Frog?
Well, it's furry. It's furry. So,
Oh, it's furry. It's furry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Furry.
The Hound of the Baskervilles.
I'm thinking that it might be a whale.
No, but
Whales don't have
Land
fur.
whales.
wait.
Yes,
Could
they
it be
do actually. They have a little bit somewhere.
They don't have fangs or claws, though.
Seal?
Well, technically,
they don't have
I was
claws.
gonna say
lion.
seal too, but no,
But then-
sea lion maybe.
They don't have claws. That's the thing. I don't think they have claws.
No.
They just have flippers.
A bear? Do you have any bears?
No, I don't have bears. It's a smaller animal. I think it's the biggest member of the muselid family.
Wolverine?
Yep, that is
Oh!
correct.
Nice.
those beasts are really, really, really ferocious in nature. don't give a
Let's see.
shit.
Wolverines are up there, and then honey badgers.
Yeah, I was gonna
No.
say a honey badger.
Yeah, honey badgers
Yeah.
are Honey badgers are mean. They make lions back away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Hyenas as
they
well.
don't give a fuck. They
They
just
are
take
also
what they
very
want.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pandas are
Fuck.
big, but they're not very scary, I don't think.
No, they're not.
No.
No, they're
Hyenas
cute.
are scary. They are actually in certain parts of Africa actually alpha predators.
Mhm.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you all for coming. I think we will conclude there. Thank you to my lovely guests. I know that Carl Saylor's book should be coming out soon, and currently his book is free during the pandemic, I believe, and you can find that in the link below.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
Have a nice day.
All right. Let's see. Where is a good conclusion? I'll just use the usual one. Adios.
Go.
Have a riot.
Okay, we're going.